What is that thing, Bob?
This is the Oreolator. It is the second iteration of the concept of mechanical separation of Oreo cookies, which has not been explored in any great depth. I don't know why, but anyway, several different stages that the machine will go through. There's the load cycle, and the cookie goes in. And there's a little armature that will keep the cookies separated so that they only go in one at a time, because the serrated edges of the cookies will lock together and they won't roll. So you have to make sure that each cookie has a chance to go through the proper cycle. And the Ferris wheel down here takes the cookie in. I'll get my little pointer here. The cookie goes in the slot. This cookie is now going down the track. Going down the track. There you go. Okay, the cookie's now between the positioning arms and the hammer. That's the key to the instrument. The hammer comes down on the cookie, forces the cookie across the knife blade, and each half goes into a separate container. This is something that the first machine did not have. There was no place for the halves to go, and you had to reach inside the machine and dig the...
The middle was sticking on there.
Oh, the middle came out all by itself, separate? Wow. Now this is demonstrating a safety feature. You notice how it just shut itself off?
Yeah.
That was because...
The cookie was going to break.
Well, the cookie was jammed, against the wood instead of on the knife blade. But primarily it's so that if a little kid were to stick his finger or something in there, that the machine would... It's a dead man switch.
Oh.
I haven't really tested it with my finger. I don't know how far it would actually go. But the idea is that it has a way of keeping it... Well, it actually did sort of jam in here. So, but the Oreo cookie dough, or whatever it is that they're made out of, is really quite strong. The edge, the resistance to being shattered, the compression strength is really high. I don't know why Nabisco did that.
Oh!
Did I just release the switch?
That's your finger.
Oh no. No, the whirling blades of death here will not get in the way too much. Just as separating Oreo cookies by hand is messy, it's also just as messy if you automate the procedure. So there's been no net gain in hygiene here.
Is that plexiglass then?
Yeah. The fun thing about this was designing it on a computer using a 2-inch disc as the starting point, and then making sure that the 2-inch disc would pass through any part of the machine. And so I was sitting at my desk one day with a cardboard ramp and a protractor measuring angles to see what the minimum angle needed to be for the cookie to roll. If the angle is too flat, the cookies won't roll. If it's too steep, they move too quickly through the machine, so you can't see them. And my boss was watching me, and he was actually quite amused when I told him what I was doing. But there was quite a bit of that kind of research, to make sure that everything would work properly. I originally wanted to have 4 slots, but then I realized that the thing would be impossibly large to accomplish that. So I needed a 2-to-1 gear ratio, so that every rotation of this motor is half a rotation of this gear, so that the cookie would end up at the proper place in the cycle, so that the hammer would have time to come up for the cookie to slide down to the knife blade.
That's a lot of engineering.
Oh yeah, and if the chain comes off, as it does sometimes when I move it, I have to very carefully realign it so that the arm is at the right place when the cookie gets onto the ramp. Otherwise it won't work. It's got about the same level of efficiency as splitting by hand. But what it does is that it eliminates the discussion about who gets the part with the cream. because it's purely arbitrary, and there's no way of looking at the cookie and knowing which side the cream is glued to. Very often it comes out on completely on one side, but occasionally, as we saw earlier, it will come out by itself, or it'll end up half on one side, half on the other. So there we go. I don't know if you noticed that there's a dimmer switch in there.
Yeah.
It's activated by this armature, and you can set the default level of brightness as you wish. But as the armature moves up and down, it runs the dimmer switch.
Oh, that's cool.
I really like having complicated layers of things moving.
Talk about the music that's playing.
It's playing Rockabye Baby. I wanted to get a little music box that would play the theme from 2001, the Viennese Waltz, but I was limited to like 3 different choices. I needed one with a little metal arm, a hand crank. I got it down at the Pike Street Market. But then I realized that it probably wouldn't make any difference what it played. It was just the idea of having some kind of musical noise to go along with it, to have it doing something else.
And the Barbie doll? Does Barbie have a role?
Not really. She's part of the Barbie ambiance of Cookie Anyone.
Thanks.
But she's not part of she was not part of the original design. I came across the Barbie later, and then a friend of mine gave me this plastic Oreo cookie with the bite out of it. So I just thought I'd stick a Barbie in there. She sort of fills the space a little bit. A lady at an art gallery that I had this on display at thought that I was making some kind of a racial statement. It was a black Barbie, it's an Oreo cookie, and it's kind of white wood. And I said, you're reading into that. That wasn't my idea. It was the black Barbie because I liked the color, not because she was black, but she looked better in there than the pink Barbie. And the Oreo cookie, I had no choice about the color of the Oreo cookie, so it'll work with sunshine cookies. It'll work with the kind of beige colored Hydrox cookies. Any cream cookie about 2 inches in diameter